Unblinkable Eyes, A Forced Smile, Sequel. Chapter 1. Jeff's Point of View. I sat in the hospital listening to the bleeping of the IV. Scarlett laid there, not moving a muscle. It was as if she just turned off. I may not have had that much sanity, but I did care. The IV bleeped over and over. She was still breathing, yet she didn't wake. Scarlett was in a coma. She had been for several months, since she saved Sally from the fire. Sally was all right, but Scarlett had swallowed too much smoke and her lungs had been clogged up. I was still questioning how she was still breathing. The doctors say that they had used some sort of inhaler. They looked at me in a funny way, as if there was something wrong with me. The receptionist at the front desk looked at my eyes. She said, "You'd certainly win in a staring competition, son." I took it as a compliment, even though it probably wasn't. The feeling was building up, and I was doing my best to ignore it. I couldn't lash out now. Not now. I'd get caught, and even if I did go to prison, I'd never see Scarlett again. I'd started cutting my hand so I wouldn't hurt anyone else, but the blood reminded me that I had to kill. The IV started bleeping quickly, though I didn't know what it meant. I knew it was something bad. "Nurse!" I called. A small nurse came running in. She looked young. She looked at the IV and called the doctors in. "You'll have to step outside for a moment, sir," the nurse said. "Why? What's happening?" I asked, frantic. "I can't say, but you have to step out," she repeated. "No, I need to stay," I yelled. "I'm sorry," she said, pulling me out of the door. I screamed, trying to pull away, but I gave up, and she sat me down. She looked at me, not saying anything. After about an hour, a doctor walked out and shook his head at the nurse. What's wrong?" I asked. The doctor beckoned me in. Date of death, the 15th of March. Time, 42 minutes past 3. I heard Scarlett was dead. I completely lost it at that point. I drew my knife and stabbed all the hospital workers in the room. I walked over to Scarlett, kissing her cold lips on her dead body. Tears stained my face as a security ran in and grabbed me. I didn't resist. I let them take me, staring at Scarlett's lifeless body as I was pulled out of the hospital and put into a police van. "Take him to mental asylum. It's the only place he'll be kept away from America," I heard a cop say. "A mental asylum. The perfect place for a killer." Unblinkable Eyes, A Forced Smile, Sequel. Chapter 2. Arwen's Point of View. I was dragged down the hallway of the mental asylum, thrashing and screaming. "Let go of me, I'm not crazy," I screamed, wriggling about. The two men who were dragging me along paid no attention and threw me into one of the cells. I was dressed in a small white dress that was provided by the asylum. Then I was forced into a straitjacket. I squirmed around, trying to get away from the two men. "No, stop," I yelled as they fastened the jacket. They laughed and walked out, locking and bolting the door. I just sat there. I tried to stand up, but failed as my arms couldn't support my body weight because they were strapped up. I gave up and eventually lay down on the foam padding of the floor and fell asleep. You're probably wondering why I was in the asylum anyways. Well, my father was a very bad man. His name was Federico. Yes, he was Italian. Anyways, he'd always be horrible to me until the age of 12. That's when he started abusing me. He'd hit, punch, and kick. I'd just lay there and take the pain. After 3 years, when I was 15, I set the house afire. He found out and obviously sent me to the mental asylum. After what seemed like an eternity of waiting, the door opened and in walked a doctor. I pushed myself into a corner and glared at him. He didn't look like one of the old, perverted-looking doctors that you see in movies. He looked young, kind, and gentle. "Hi there, Arwen. I'm Dr. Renfrew." I glared at him. "Let me guess. You want to take testings, then turn me into a mindless zombie?" I asked. "Oh, no, I just want to ask you some questions," he said and pulled me up, leading me out of the cell and into a very dark room with 2 chairs and a table. "Don't worry," he said. I nodded and he let me down in one of the chairs and sat there in the other one across from me. He smiled and set up a tape recorder. 16th of March, 12:20, patient Arwen Elrond, he said, then got a sheet of paper and started reading aloud some questions. "So, Arwen, you're 15, correct?" Yes. You were sent here for setting your house on fire, yes? Yeah. And your mother died due to a car accident? No. My dad killed her. He suffocated her and stabbed her in the head, then drove her car into a ditch and put her inside it to make it look like she had an accident. You people don't know anything. Let me go from this place. I screamed, tears of anger running down my face. The doctor looked at me with sad look in his eyes. Then he stopped the recording. Arwen, there aren't any cameras in here, and I promise I will try and get you out of here. I'm the best doctor they have, and they trust me. I know you aren't crazy. He smiled. I nodded and wiped my eyes from me. Unblinkable Eyes, a Forced Smile sequel, Chapter 3. Jeff's Point of View. I'm not crazy, I heard a girl yell. I tried my best to look out the small gap in my cell door. Of course I didn't see much as I was chained up. I saw two men dragging along a girl. She had pink hair and pale skin. She reminded me of Scarlet, my Scarlet. After a while, I heard her cell door open. Her cell was opposite of mine. It was a shame that I could hardly see her. Dr. Renfrew was talking to her. I hated that guy. Let me guess. You're going to do tests on me, right? She said, or something along those lines. I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. After all, she wasn't crazy. It was obvious. Arwen's point of view. I was brought back to my cell. This time, I didn't make an attempt to struggle. I sighed and tears ran down my face. The two men from earlier walked out. After a while, I was really hungry. Let me out! I'm starving! I yelled. I heard a small laughter from in front of me. They won't come, said a deep voice. I shivered. What do you mean? Who are you? I asked. Well, I'm in a cell across from you. Unlike you, I'm chained up. He laughed. I did my best to stand up, but obviously failed. I wish I could see you, I said. He laughed. Well, I am beautiful, he said. I chuckled. The door opened, and in walked Dr. Renfrew. He pulled me up without a word and led me out of my cell towards an office. Just play along, he mumbled. I nodded, and he walked in. I saw a tall woman in a long white coat with a ponytail and glasses. Dr. Mishua, this is Arwen. She passed all her tests. It's been confirmed that her father was lying. She is not mental or crazy in any way, shape, or form, Dr. Renfrew said, handing the woman some files. I guess that she owned the asylum. The woman looked at the files and nodded. Dr. Renfrew started undoing my straitjacket. I stretched my arms. Thank you, I said, and started walking out. I walked past the man that talked to me earlier and looked in. He was beautiful. He had white skin and a cut-in smile. I'm so sorry, I said. The man smiled. Goodbye, he said. I nodded and walked out of the asylum. Unblinkable Eyes, a Forced Smile, Chapter 4. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Point of view. I sat up and groaned. I was in the forest. Where was Jeff? Jeffrey? I called. I heard a small laughter from behind me. I gasped and turned around. Slendy was standing there with another man who looked like him. He was wearing a jumper and some skinny jeans. Hello, he said. I stood up. Hi, Slendy. Who's this? Where's Jeff, and why am I here? I asked. He chuckled. Well, aren't you full of questions? He laughed. I'm Trenderman, said the man standing next to Slendy. I smiled and nodded. Jeffrey is, well, I don't know, to be honest, Slendy said. Tears ran down my face. Wait, how am I here? I asked. About that. We, kidnapped you, Slendy said. I glared at him. Why? I asked. We need your help to find Jeff, Slendy shouted, as if it was obvious. I nodded and heard someone running. Crap, hide, I mumbled. Slendy and Trenderman ran into the woods as a girl with pink hair was running. She ran up to me. Please help. There's a man in the asylum. He doesn't need to be in there, she panted. I frowned. Slendy, Trendy, come here, I yelled. They both walked towards me, and the girl looked at him with wide eyes. So this man in the asylum, what does he look like? I asked. He has a white face, and he doesn't blink. Black hair and a smile carved into his face. She stared. I stared at her. Did he talk to you? Slendy asked. She nodded. You have to go there now, I said. Can I come with you? She asked. Do you want your guts pulled out? Trendy asked her. Well, my life is crap already, so I don't really give a crap. I'm Arwen, by the way, she smiled. I'm Slendy, and he's Trendy, Slendy said, pointing to Trendy. And you? she asked, staring at me. I nibbled my lip and looked at her eyes. I'm Scarlet. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to tell me you're alive. Bye!